Hi, I'm Rhys Connah, and this is my essay on skills development as a director. Let's imagine a scenario. You're some big, important director and you're working on your brand new 500 million film. Everything's in place, done all the paperwork, you're on set and you've just called cut. But something ain't quite right. The actors just aren't selling the scene to you. The crew just isn't quite getting what you have as your creative vision. And on top of all of that, you don't really understand the scene as a whole or its point in the story. It's quite a predicament you have yourself in. But here's what I found to be some methods and mindsets to help you in a situation like this. This comes from my own personal research and my research question, where I've aimed to answer 3 sub-questions. So these questions are: how to work with actors, how to communicate with the crew, and how to understand a script. So let's start with the first question: how to work with actors. Now, my line of thinking is that working with actors can be hard unless you know how actors work. I mean, how do they approach scripts? What makes them interested in the character? If I don't know these things, then how am I supposed to get the actors to understand me when I don't even understand them? My solution to this was by the old idiom: you can't understand someone unless you walk a mile in their shoes. So I decided to do just that. I started attending some acting classes and workshops alongside real actors to learn how they operate and the methods they use to communicate and approach a script. Now, this exercise taught me a lot about how actors approach scenes, and what I found most interesting was how adding additional layers of context can change an actor's performance. The person leading these workshops used a method he called drip feeding information, where with the scene he would slowly give them information to build up layers and bring up this performance through context and emotions built one step at a time. Now, this is a useful method as he believed just dumping everything on an actor all at once can lead to a confused performance. And I like this method, so I plan on using it on my sets and test its effectiveness. In a private meeting with me after the workshop, the leader gave me some advice for working with actors on set. And in his words, the point of a scene is to take the plot and the characters from one point to another, say point A to B. Now, as a director, you will focus on this journey, but in order to have your actors to understand them, they need to fully understand the story. They need to know what comes before A and comes after B. An exercise I use is asking my actors to write a diary as their characters, and they write an entry before and after every scene. This helps them see the purpose of each scene and gives them a roadmap to follow for their character. Now, using these methods, I'm confident enough to work with actors and to help them work with me to get the best scene and outcome for everyone, and I'll have to test this on my own set soon. Moving on, the second problem I faced was an ability to communicate my intentions to the cast and crew. As a director, many of the creative decisions on a set are put on your shoulders, so if you don't have the capacity to present your creative vision to your crew, then you'll end up with a slow, inefficient, and most importantly, confused set, and that needs to be avoided. To start off, confidence. Having confidence in yourself and in your vision is key. If you go to set second guessing yourself and worrying over every decision, the crew won't have confidence in you. So even if you're terrified to step onto that set, you can't let people know. I would recommend preparing your speeches in advance. This method has helped me a lot during the test shoots of our upcoming film which I'm directing. Set them in front of a mirror if you have to. It's easy to have an idea in your head of what you want to say, but when you step onto that set, everything gets jumbled and you can't quite get it out in a concise manner. But preparing your speeches in advance is a sure way to fix this. Knowing what you're saying before you even step foot onto that set is a good way to give your speeches that conciseness, that clarity, and that confidence which you desperately need. That brings us to part 3, how to understand the script. As a director, you need to have a clear understanding of the script you're working with. It's your job to present the script through your work on the film. So if you don't fully understand the meaning and the purpose of each scene, then your directing won't be as effective as it could be. So, how can you be more effective at understanding scripts? Now, I find the best way to do this is to not look at a single script as a whole, but simply look at it as parts. For an example, think of how a script would look if it was just one character's perspective. What would the journey be? Now, try this for every single one of your characters. View the script as the pathway that each character takes. Once you have this, look at each large action or event. Understand what this means to everything in the script, every character, every plot device, not whether in the scene or not, the story as a whole. Now, you need to think of a script not as the full story. You need to know what the full story is in advance. You have the full story in your head, regardless of the script. The script and what you film is just the small inserts of what you capture in that story to pass it off to the audience. Now, if you make sure you're doing all that and you have a full understanding of the story, not just what's written down, you'll be sure to understand any script put in front of you. So, I've given you all these methods, but how can you test them? Where can you get feedback as a director? Now, directing is quite a difficult one to get feedback from because by the time you hear how you're doing, the film is usually already finished, unless you're doing something very wrong, which you'll get told on set. But it's important to make sure people are honest with you. Try to talk to people you trust and people you know won't just say things nice to you, but tell you the truth. What I've been doing for my film is I've just regularly been speaking to people in my crew and my cast, as well as my tutors, as it's a university production. Using all of these people's feedback, I've been able to work on methods, and it's how I've tested a lot of these methods in this video by seeing what people think and whether it works, whether it doesn't, and what they think it does for my ability as a director. So I imagine doing something similar to you. Talk to your cast, talk to your crew, talk to your tutors if you have them. Just make sure the feedback you're getting is honest and not just people who are friendly to you being nice to you. Now, after all that, you should have everything you need to grow and learn as a director. But there's just one thing to remember. Directing, it's not a static industry, it's more like art. And just like art, there's no best way of doing things. There is no best way of directing. There's no one size fits all that will make all your problems go away and make you the best director in the world. All of these methods do work for me. There's no guarantee that they'll work for you. Directing is about experimentation, and it's important to experiment and find your own methods that work for you. But until then, that's been everything from me. Thank you.